I'll flip over to capital list here in just a minute that we have for capital items. One of the things, last year when we talked budget, we were at 7 police cars over 100,000 miles. We purchased 2, we're now at 11 police cars over 100,000 miles. Okay. Again, I told you that's the mark where you have to start beginning to look at a replacement of those vehicles. One of the things in doing some research and talking with Mr. Shacker and people at the Municipal Association and other city and town managers at these association meetings is the trend in the current model of capital replacement tends to be going to lease purchasing of mass quantities of cars and equipment at one time. 5-year lease purchases. Some are using 10-year lease purchases. So the thought is for this year, we're at 11 cars. To purchase one vehicle is about $32,000, say $33,000 because it's up for $32,000.
That's purchase and equipment.
Well, that's the equipment, the vehicle, to fully outfit the car, and that's including digital cameras installed because digital cameras are a capital need. But obviously, if we do this lease purchase that I'm about to tell you about, we would all but handle our digital camera capital.
We have 6 VHS left.
We got 6 left, so we've got 6 that need to be taken care of from a digital camera standpoint. Right now, here's the position we're in. We have a lease purchase for a fire truck. It'll be paid off in September. That money is going to be converted over to the lease purchase that we have for the air packs. We'll have this coming budget and the budget after that. 2 payments left on that lease purchase. Okay. We would like to know from you guys if you're open-minded to a lease purchase for 5 years to purchase 5 police cars this year. The annual payment would be around $35,500. This would allow us to get 5 cars. The life of a police car is over 5 years. So it's not like it's going to hit the end of its life by the lease purchase. And we should get, what, another 2-3 years after the end of that lease purchase on those vehicles before those are due to start being replaced. So if we did that lease purchase, payment around $35,500 for those 5 police vehicles, 3 years after we start that, the $51,000 that we've been using on the fire truck and the air pack is going to free up because it's paid off. You're 3 years into 5 here. At that point, you take that $51,000, you analyze your capital needs at that time, you start another lease purchase. And like I said, the current model and trend that city and town managers are doing because of the cost of equipment is a lot of them have upwards to 5 and 6 lease purchases going at a time. And as they drop off, they pick up and they cycle through. And I would like for us to consider moving to that type of model. And when I show you some numbers in a minute, I think it will give a better impression of that model. But it is
talking about a rolling payment for ad infinitum of $35,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Versus the outright purchase of 30-something thousand.
If we purchase 5 police cars this year, it'd be $160,000. There's no way we can do it. But we've got to start picking up. Again, we purchased 2 this past year and went and increased in 4 cars, net increased in 4 cars, over 100,000 miles.
So we're still falling behind.
We're still falling behind.
With that purchase.
This type of model allows you to catch up and then stay on top of it moving forward.
Is there any accounting benefit for the municipality of doing this lease purchase? I know sometimes if individuals or businesses get some tax benefits for doing lease purchases versus purchases.
I couldn't answer that. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I know it allows you to do more spread out over a period of time, which obviously you would never do the lease purchase on something that has an expected life of that term amount or less.
Right.
Obviously, if we're going to do a lease purchase, we would always include in it things that are expected to last longer than the lease purchase.
And you're still talking about them being equipped at this?
This would be a fully equipped car, and this would handle the digital camera needs that he has at the same time, which would eliminate that. from one of the, so we're eliminating 2 capital needs in this. So we're looking at I wanna hop to something real quick.
Yes.
One question to the chief.
Here's where we're at right now. Projected revenue, what's that?
He has a
Yeah,
question.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many miles are we averaging per vehicle per year? Have you done?
Yeah, I have, but I don't have my sheets with me. I had it on my, I didn't know we were gonna talk about this, and I didn't bring my paperwork with me. But our oldest car right now, I believe, is like a 2004. Does that sound right?
I think so. It's
About
somewhere between,
2004. So it's not like you said, in 5 years, the car's not gonna be ready to get rid of in 5 years. Because, you know, like I said, we got a lot of cars, as you saw, as you can see them in the patrol town, we got a lot of old Crown Vics. Well, they hadn't made a Crown Vic since 2010. So, you know, we got a lot of cars that fall into that early 2000 year range that we're still using. So, but I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head without my sheet with me. But I hope I've given you at least some idea with the old age of the cars that, to answer your question.
Right.
alright, so right now, here's where we're at with the budget. Projected revenue, you see, I'm not gonna go through every one of these numbers individually. These requests for these departments are after us meeting, analyzing all of the cost and what's occurred over the current budget year we're in and the 4 years prior to this year. And this includes the new town hall payment in it as well for the bond. This is all O&M costs that we project for next year. And you'll see that we are in a good standing of $105,000 at this point, for us to analyze and look at capital requests and do some things. What's not a part of this is dispatch. Okay, we needed to know y'all's thoughts on that before we added it in. But again, we're talking about $16,600 to be minus off of 105.
Well, you know, up front though, you're going to pay the $68,000. It's got to come out of the checking account somewhere, and then we have the reimbursement.
It will. So we'll show an expense
Yeah.
we'll show an expense that exceeds revenue by $16,600. Is the way it would look in the budget. And again, all that's pending the confirmation of reimbursement.
What about the elimination of bulk? Is
That's
that
included in this. I went
That
ahead
is
and included that because I wanted to show you guys the picture. That 105 is if bulk was,
eliminated?
any cost to the town for bulk pickup was removed.
Now, you're looking at his capital lease in that.
No, that is
Okay,
the
that's
capital.
what it is.
This is bare bones
Bare bones,
O&M.
Okay, I didn't know if you had any capital in
Bare
it.
bones O&M, right here. We're 105 to the good. Now, obviously, if we save any money on insurance, that's only going to make that number larger. Okay, so we're hoping to see a significant savings in the insurance side so that that number can increase up. What else is also included in this is an increase for council members. Right now, it's $1,975 a year when you take council pay, training, and travel. What I've built into this year is $3,000, but my mindset attempt is to take council up to $4,000. But the reason it's reflecting $3,000 this year is because by the time election happens and you can legally implement by law the increase, only 3,000 is needed for this year.
Will that be December 1?
So that is one of the
Okay.
things that I'm gonna skip right here to this slide. We're talking about one combined line item that is council's compensation of $4,000, except for this year, $3,000. Now, here's the difference. Council members will not be reimbursed for travel. The town will not make the travel and training arrangements and all this other stuff for council members. The monthly stipend check will go up based on $4,000, $3,000 for this year. Council members will pay their own training and travel. For those that don't want to train and travel, you get $4,000 in compensation. Those that don't care about the compensation can do $4,000 worth of training and travel. Or for those that want a little bit of both, they can split it up however they want to. Those funds are yours. Now, the one question that I have is the MASC annual meeting. The town is required to make those arrangements and to make payment the day that we make those arrangements. So my question is this: council members that want to attend the MASC annual meeting, when the budget begins, we ask who intends to attend the annual meeting next July. It's $1,000 to attend that meeting by the time you take travel registration. It's right at $1,000. If someone intends, do we take $1,000 off the top of that and then compensate on $3,000 and keep $1,000 in the account for when it's time to make those training arrangements? Or do we keep the $4,000 and we allot $3,000 to $4,000 in a separate line item for MASC annual meeting? And if we do that, then 3 or 4 people will be determined on who's going to go for that year. That's my question to y'all.
What is the annual pay now with travel and training?
$1,950 is the total of training, travel, and compensation for council members right now. So what, number one,
It takes most of that $975 for the annual meeting.
I will say this, 4,000 is a lot more competitive than where we're at. 4,000 is more in line with other towns and cities our size. We are probably the lowest in the state of South Carolina for council pay.
For anyone that pays.
Well, you know, many municipalities elect people to attend
Yeah,
annually, and it's not just left open to whoever wants to go can go.
that's right. That's where, there's a couple things I'm seeking here. Number one is the 4,000, is everybody fine with that? Is everybody fine with the setup of one account? You're just paid that monthly stipend. For the MASC annual meeting, if a person wants to go, do we take that out at the start of the budget and set it aside, and then they're compensated on the $3,000 for the rest of the year? Or do we leave the $4,000 and set aside additional money for a certain amount for so many people to go to the annual meeting? Y'all tell me.
Well, I think most people know I have an issue with being paid to serve.
Right.
And so when I think of $4,000 times 9, that's $36,000, and of what needs to be done in this.
I think we're looking at about an 18,000, off the top of my head, I think it's about an $18,000 increase to go this route to the 4,000 total. And another question was posed to me, and I'll throw it out there real quick, is if a council member were to elect to waive their compensation line item altogether, would that be allowed? And what would happen to those funds if that was chosen to happen?
Go back into the general fund.
Okay. Do we want to allow that ability for council members to waive it should they choose to?
Well, if a council member wants to volunteer their services to serve, you can't make them receive notices.
I get it.
Yeah, so
I don't
we should
disagree
have-
with that.
That option should be there for them to waive receiving that 4,000 if they choose to. Just put it back into the general fund.
Thoughts, discussion?
Never heard of that. I'd throw that out on listserv.
We can't force somebody to be paid. A council member.
You don't have to cash the check.
God, they don't have to cash the check.
There's that.
But you're gonna make Judy sweat bullets when there's a bunch of outstanding checks.
Well, I'm saying, but just for information purposes, throw it out on listserv,
What do you mean?
on manager's listserv, and see what kind of response you get. You know, if you've got somebody that does want to serve without compensation, how do you handle it?
I'm sure that it happens
It
somewhere in
certainly
this
has to,
state.
so it
I'm
has
sure it
somewhere.
happens. I'm sure.
It would
there
make
is.
sense that it goes back into the general fund though.
So,
Use mine to
alright.
pay people to work around.
Let me, this is one thing I really need to know. So 4,000 is what will be allotted for council members. One single line item. Are you fine with that?
Yeah.
Is that adequate? Is that good? Mr. Charles?
Are you
y'all?
asked, excuse me. Sorry.
First off, I wanna know if this is adequate. Are we in line with, are y'all comfortable with this?
Right, I wouldn't use that word adequate.
Are you,
It's a step in the right direction.
are you comfortable with this? Okay, alright, I'm kinda seeing a consensus, there's a level of comfort.
The question would be, do you want to subtract what you would spend at the annual meeting, at the onset of the budget year? Or do you want to receive the full compensation and put $3,000 in a line item, and council elects 3 members to go to the annual meeting?
And it doesn't come out of their compensation. It's separate funds that are set aside.
I think that's probably the best.
But now, how would we determine who those 3 members
Well,
were?
and
Who needs the training?
And here's kind of the flip side, other side of that sword, is you leave it open, they have a choice if they want to, but that 1,000 comes off the top at the beginning of the budget, and we pay on 3,000, not 4.
Yeah, you can do that.
Then it doesn't ever have to come down to a decision of who do we elect to go? Well, I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna do it.
Right.
This one.
I mean, personally, I think the easiest thing to do is take that 1,000 off the top at the beginning, and they're compensated on 3,000 the rest of the year, and that 1,000 sitting there for registration and training and travel for.
Or at least by December, if somebody, well, because the budget year will start in June. No, you'll have to have it right then, no, July. And you will have already registered people by July 1. So at least by the first of the year, you would have to know whether or not they want to go. I don't know that you want to ask them in July if they want to go
July of the next year.
July a year from now. There are a lot of things that can happen, a lot of things can change. But certainly make a decision, because there'll be enough money left in the line item by January 1, make them make a commitment at that point.
I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that $3,000 to $4,000 could be put into that line item for that municipal association thing. And for the people that can't plan that far in advance, I can't.
Well, I can't either.
Yeah.
You know, I got a full-time job now.
Right.
So, I would prefer seeing people being voted on by council to attend instead of just every year,
Let's go with that.
you know.
I don't know.
But then clearly you've got people like Rachel that need the ongoing training
Right.
to finish the certification, so.
And obviously, their agenda's different every year, and their topics tend to go towards what's hot for that year.
What's your average?
And that changes. And so,
What's been your average attendance?
who went last year?
I did.
You, Steve, and
And Steve.
Steve
Charles,
went.
Rachel, and Steve.
Okay, so we had 3. The year before that,
I wouldn't,
I would say 2 to 3
Two.
is probably the average.
usually be
Used
4 or
to
5 of them.
I think from a budgetary standpoint, and for us to do, and then to keep from every year having to say, well, you went last year, you know, who wants to go this year, and having to go through a process. I mean, there's some cities that take their whole council. There's some that bring none. There's some that have 1 or 2 attend.
Right.
And I just think that if you have $4,000 and you want to commit 1,000 of your funds to be for the MASC annual meeting registration and booking the hotel and all of that for next July, I kind of like the idea from a management, budgetary, administrative side. But again, the election of who goes, that would be entirely up to you guys. I mean, y'all tell me which, because what we're
Okay,
talking
Todd.
about here is a difference of a line item with $3,000 or $4,000, or that line item not existing in that. But right now, this budget is based on, I think I put 4,000 in an MASC annual meeting line item.
Right.
If y'all say, let's just take it off the top for those that wanna come when the budget starts, I put 4,000 back on top of that. And that goes to $109,000 we got.
We got, how many of us have been through the program and graduates? You and I and
Me.
Charles.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Todd, have you gone through you hadn't been able to get off, like.
Rachel said 1 year.
And see, you get a new job, it's not.
Steve's probably a graduate if he's, you know.
But out of 9-member council, to say that a third will go every year, to nominate 3 people to go, I think is very fair.
Yeah.
That way it's just not, and at one point it seemed like it was vacation time for people. And, I'm sure that happens in many municipalities. And it levels the playing field.
You got,
Number 4 instead of 3, but.
And that's since half of council, I was thinking a third at a time, since we're a 9-member council.
Well, I really, to be honest with you, I was disappointed that there weren't more council members there when I went this last year. It was very enlightening to me, but it was new to me. You know, Rita, who's been at it for a long time, maybe it's old hat, but I learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's a good thing, and I think it's a good thing that our towns are represented.
I always enjoyed going, I always paid my own way. But now, since I'm not my own boss and I'm dependent upon the state for that vacation time, I can't just pick up and go at the drop of a hat.
Right.
And this year's gonna be even worse, because I'm fixing to change divisions.
so a separate line item with $3,000 or $4,000. 3,000, is that what I'm hearing, a third?
I still kind of like the idea that people just decide that either they're gonna go, that rather than having,
I don't wanna be in the
Or
business of selecting people to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that everybody just, if it's something that you know you can work out, you wanna do, then you know right off the top that that's what you're gonna do.
Okay.
Okay.
Then
All right,
leave it
well,
there.
then I'll put that 4,000 that I have in there back into the budget, which is beneficial.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this about the, annual meeting registration. Now, how did you come up with the $1,000?
Because I looked at I've looked at, the registration was $150. Hotel is, and I looked at some of the hotel costs,
$4.
and then the training travel allotment, it was about $1,000. Now, that's not to say it's not a few dollars above it, but it's roughly right around $1,000.
Well, why can't you, since the town has to register, why not just, register for the registration fee and deduct that the following month from their, whatever that monthly amount is?
Because that will be at the budget year end. He'll have to register
Yeah.
in June with the new budget starting in July. And some people may have gone through their money by then.
And in May, June timeframe, it is hotel paid for, registration paid for.
But I mean, you're getting that, stipend every month.
Right.
Right. So regardless of, the registration fee would not be more than that monthly amount.
Yeah.
The stipend.
Just the registration fee, I mean,
But you
not the
gotta pay
hotel
rent.
or anything, just the registration fee for the MASC.
The simplest way from a payroll and a budget side would be if you tell us, I want the MASC annual meeting as a part of my budgeted line item this year. The simplest accounting and budgetary way for us as a staff to do it, and from Tanya as a payroll standpoint, is to say, all right, Mr. Charles is paid on $3,000 this year. He wants to go to MASC annual meeting. Because when Tanya's setting up her computer, it's automatically generated stuff.
But you
It-
gonna generate a 1099 for that travel,
Do what now?
because that would be part of the compensation.
Well, actually,
Should be.
it would be training and travel fund.
Should
spent
be-
on
should-
them. The
should-
compensation would be what he actually receives in the form of a check. That would not, any training and travel that we
Check the
spend.
accounting, I think it should be a 1099 as part of the compensation for being a council member.
Right, why are we getting a W-2 and as,
Instead of
Instead of
1099, I've said that several times.
Well, and I followed back up this past year, and I'm trying to remember Tanya's exact response, off the top of my head. The 1099 just, it couldn't happen.
I got a W, well, I got a
Could not
W-2
be
because I've got
Yeah, you got W-2s
state
now, right?
contribution.
right,
We got
Right.
two.
We can't do 1099s. I mean, we called the labor attorney after,
I asked.
Bob asked a question this past year, or a few months ago, and we did homework, and I sent a response out. It was in a weekly update that I did that, that the question had been asked. I would have to go back, because I do not remember off the top of my head what that was.
I actually work for him.
What's that?
but we
All
are
the
not,
employees of the town
we are not
work for you.
employees of the town.
I get it, and we put the question out there. And as a matter of fact, we put it on the manager's listserv too, and other towns and city managers were saying, it's gotta be W-2. It has to be. And they, cause they had inquired about this previously as well.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you on another thing real quick, and then, here's what I'd like to do moving forward. Built in, number one, it was, one of the things that was pitched out with regards to me is to separate my training, my travel, and the car allowance as a part of my contract.
You don't get travel.
Oh, not travel and training, but to balance out the car allowance and create a line item for town manager expenses, which would account for, right now it's one local organization, civic organization membership, which I'll be honest, I haven't done.
That'd be dues.
And obviously I have the ICMA membership dues, South Carolina City County Managers membership dues, there's training, for town and city managers to go to. He want him to start attending some of this, but his training and travel would go within the regular staff training and travel line item. But there was a thought about separating out these types of expenses for the town manager to include a car allowance. I have done that at this point, which is reflected into this budget, as a separate line item, because $6,000 is what the car allowance annually works out to. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but taking those memberships and then anticipated travel for some of those different conferences and putting them into that. And I think it was a total of about $11,000 or something like that total, with $7,000 being the car allowance. So, that was done. There are some increased costs that are already reflected in those numbers you saw for new NCIC requirements through SLED. It's going to be a couple $1,000s here and a couple $1,000s there for security stuff for NCIC. We've already built those costs in.
In those department numbers you showed.
That's right. Lemon Leaf Landfill, we've done some work out there trying to get it in good shape to buy some more years. One of the things that we're going to start doing is mulching operations for some reoccurring maintenance to keep our landfill under good control, to buy us years. It's over $1 million to start a new Lemon Leaf Landfill. We're trying to build $16,000 into, no, we've built $16,000 into the budget for quarterly maintenance to mulch the landfill, which would keep it under control at all times. Also, P25 radio requirements for 800 megahertz. We've got till December 31st, 2016 to replace 14 radios for the fire department. Mandatory P25 upgrade.
At a cost of,
We're looking at about a total cost of $50,000 to do that. We've got $7,500 to apply towards it now. And we're not looking to buy we're looking to buy a chunk of radios towards that this year. Don't want to go through the entire capital list tonight. What I'd like to do is email you guys the capital list, if everybody's fine with us doing that. Go ahead and look at the capital need request list from all the department heads and from us that we've put in of capital needs. How does everybody feel about a $35,500 payment towards a 5-year lease purchase for 5 new police cars? Okay, then I'm gonna move forward with building that cost in. Okay? I will readjust those numbers based on that payment being included for a 5-year lease purchase on 5 police cars. And then, once the numbers are readjusted, I will shoot you the capital list, updated, minusing the police cars out of it. You'll see how much money we have. You'll see what the cost of those capital items are. And I would love your input on.
I'd rather us come back
Or,
together.
would you rather us come back together? And that'd probably be good for us to talk about it.
Sorry,
Quick
Judy.
question on the lease purchase. I was going to assume there's no bubble payment at the end. That's a straight 5-year lease. And
Our lease purchase previously have not included bubble payments at the end. They've been stamped.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, it is a loan.
Yeah.
Towns and cities by law are not allowed to have loans. Okay, we've got 2 options for funding, bonds and lease purchase. The lease purchase option is a loan.
Right.
And those rates have been going at about 2.74%.
Wow.
They're awesome. So, that's all we have.
And you applied, tell me, you applied for some of the funding, then applied for some of the funding
Yep.
for P25.
We have grant application out there to fully take care of P25, but obviously we can't assume we're gonna get it. We're pushing forward with, we have to fully fund it. If we get the grant, that's remarkable, that's wonderful. Alright,
Chief is good with the lease purchase of 5.
Chief, are you good with 5 new police cars?
No, I went 8.
And I will tell you what, in 3 years, when that $51,000 frees up from the air pack payment, that's gonna be the point that we look at another lease purchase, and we start compounding these, and I think that's the route we need to look at going. Okay?
You're getting 5 cars now for 1 car a year for 5 years.
Yeah.
You are, but that saves us $160,000 up front.
That's what I'm saying.
Cost right
Yeah,
now,
that's
so
what I'm
it's, and we're knocking your digital camera out at the same time.
Right.
So,
Good deal for them.
hey, can we build tasers into that cost? Cause that wouldn't add much to that.
And we're already
We knocked that
P25
out.
compliant, by the way, with our radio, so we've been working on that for years.
I'm gonna
We're all right
explore
with
tasers as a part of the police package, police car package, because it wouldn't add a lot to the payment at all. But it would take care of that need. So that will be explored, because tasers spread out over 5 years.
that.
It's gonna be
What's the lifespan?
about
of the taser?
$1,200, but we need 10 of them.
What's the
This last
lifespan of
change
the
rate
taser?
right now, we got it for equipment only.
Chief,
You know, this bulletproof vest ran out there now?
Well, we get that every year.
The bulletproof,
that's a good question, because the lifespan is less than 5 years. It's
We
not
do it
worth it.
every,
Hey, Chief, what's the lifespan of a taser? The new ones?
the new ones, about 5 years.
Well,
That's what, now there again too, that's a manufacturer's thing. Just like vest, the manufacturer says you have to replace bulletproof vest every 5 years. The government says they're fine after 5 years, but what do? They won't warrant it after 5 years. The manufacturer won't. If the officer gets shot and then it didn't work right and it's over 5 years old, where's that put you? So tasers are basically the same way. The manufacturer has put that limit on it. And they won't fix them anymore after that.
Right.
well, guys, we're extremely excited. We're done. We're working on the DPW budget. We're doing a lot of homework, obviously. A lot of things have changed from Jeannie running the show to Tim. And so we're doing a lot of analysis on our spending and all of that stuff and what savings he's been able to achieve and all of that. As soon as we're ready to come to the table, we'll let you know, and we'll have that up. A sit down just like this about the DPW budget.
Would you email me a copy of the PowerPoint?
I will.
Thank you.
I will. The capital, we'll try to pick a time to come back together and have a quick discussion about all the capital items, and we will try to be prepared as a staff to make a recommendation on a priority order of the capital.
Well, we'll probably do capital and DPW at the same time, just knock out
Yeah.
capital real fast.
Yeah.
Because we need to sit on this in the May meeting, we can have first reading.
Yeah, you're right.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So second.
All right, we're adjourned.
All right. Appreciate y'all's time. I'm as hungry as you are, I promise.
Mr. Charles, the W-2 versus 1099. The W-2 versus 1099. The IRS actually has a video about it as to why